Hello, friends, and welcome to the Handyman Success Podcast. Our mission is to teach and inspire by sharing the stories and insights of our guests. Whether you're a prospective, new, or seasoned handyman business owner, you will learn practical business tips you can apply today and be inspired that you can reach your goals and create a better tomorrow. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Call, owner of Handyman Marketing Pros. We equip small, family-owned handyman businesses with modern websites and SEO to help grow their businesses online. I'm joined by my co-host, Alan Lee, who has built his handyman business to a point where it runs without him. He now teaches others, step by step, how to do the same thing through his Handyman Journey business coaching. You can learn more about our marketing and coaching services by scheduling a call with us on handymansuccess.net. So whether you're patching drywall, sitting in the office, or making your third run to Home Depot, we invite you to pull up a chair and sit with us on another episode of the Handyman Success Podcast. Welcome to part 2 of this interview of the Handyman Success Podcast. If you missed the first part, you can find that on whatever platform you are listening or watching this episode on. Let's jump back into it.
So this is an interesting one. I have never been somebody who believes in debt. I've been raised that you don't use debt. Maybe for like a house mortgage. But I've recently been considering business debt for a new van, which I've actually pulled the trigger on, and after this call, I'm going to pick it up because of some issues with my current transportation. But what are your guys' thoughts on business debt? Can you use debt for a vehicle strategically? Would you recommend taking out loans for potentially buying tools and scaling? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm against debt, but there's many ways to skin a cat. And I told my employee that yesterday. I'm like, actually, there's 5 ways to skin a cat. We won't get into that here on this podcast.
Check out Cat Skinning Success Podcast.
Right, that's our next venture. So there are people that use debt to grow a business, and they're very successful, right? It really comes down to what your risk level is. And for
Yeah.
me and my wife, like my wife is the co-owner of my business, so we do not feel comfortable taking out and risking that much for this business. There's a lot at stake, right? Things go up, things go down, and if you have no debt and things are going down, it's a lot easier to recover than if you had a monthly payment that you had to make each month. If you have that payment, like things are down, you not only worrying about paying employees, but now you're also worried about paying for that truck loan. But there are different ways to do it, and that's perfectly fine. I recognize that other people are better at taking risk or feel better about it than I do. I've personally built everything with cash. I felt more comfortable that way. Obviously, there's maybe less money in the bank because of that, right? Because I got to save up 12 grand, plus some if I want to go buy a 12 grand truck or whatever like that. But I just feel better at the end of the day. We own 5 vehicles for the business.
Yeah.
We own them all 100%, and same with our personal vehicle. We own that 100%. That's my personal thought on it, but there's many different ways. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Jason, on that.
Yeah, like Alan said, the debt is, it comes down to the individual. There's people on the other end of the spectrum. They're very pro debt. It's a lot more risk. Your mistakes can cost you a lot more if you've got more debt. Debt is absolutely good. I think anyone, obviously real estate, it's a necessity for most. So I personally on the debt spectrum, I'm not as opposed to debt as Alan probably. I'm probably on the in between, like the middle and then no debt. As far as my personal preference and guidance. My priority is always on profitability and efficiency. And I think that growing organically too is an important thing for me. And when you can organically grow and secure profits to pay for things without having to get debt, I think would be my preference. However, debt absolutely has there's cases where it's necessary. Buying a vehicle, buying tools, I would say you'd probably want to buy that out of your profit. If that were me, I would view that as, if I really want to cut that job time in half, let me earn it by building up my business and paying for that out of the
Mhm.
business with cash. I think vehicles and real estate are kind of hands down some more digestible debt. Just be very, very cautious about the overhead, about the interest rates that you're getting into. Um, you typically don't want to go through dealerships who are offering very high interest rates. If you don't know anything about debt, finance, credit, do not take debt. You need to educate yourself on what goes into a credit score, what your credit currently is. If you aren't building credit, like as an 18-year-old, you should get
Yeah.
a credit card. If you can't be approved for a basic credit card and pay it off every month, do a CD secured credit card. Take out a CD loan, do things to build your credit to ultimately lower your interest rate, which is going to make that debt more profitable for your business growth or your personal growth. So overall, debt is it's a whole other podcast series. There's whole contents
Yeah.
about debt, and it ranges by who you hear the information from. So anyone out there, I would encourage you to know who is sharing that guidance. What is their proof in the pudding? What does their moral compass look like? What does their success, their track record look like? People, debt absolutely ruins people. It can ruin people, has that potential. I think more often than it does make them successful. I used to work in banking.
Mm.
I actually refused to sell credit cards, even though it's part of my job. I laid it out to my manager of how harmful it is, and I've seen it. And she's like, "Okay, just get mortgage refinances then." So anyway, I have that personal experience on the banking side. My last thing I'll say is listen to our latest podcast with Chris Olson. Not
Okay.
our latest. It's the one when we were largely talking about Northwest moss removal. I'll try and pull up the episode. It's like 40 or 40 something around there. Chris shares
Yeah.
his firsthand experience with debt. There was lots of good things that came from it. There's a lot of
Yeah.
bad things, but that is a from the mouth of the horse, someone who used debt in the contracting space, his experiences and his learning experience from that. He's also a very
Yeah.
wise guy where I would listen to that episode from the horse's
100%.
mouth.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
So
one good contrast is, we've always paid cash for our vehicles. So we have
mm,
a few trucks and we have two vans. And the vans are Ford Transit Connects. We have a 2013 and a 2015 Ford Transit Connect. They're the smaller Ford Transits. And it's smaller, they're a little bit older. They have probably 140 to 170,000 miles on them between the two of them. We bought those for about $11,000, $12,000, both of them.
mm,
We bought those with cash, or we could choose to buy a brand new, Ford
yeah.
Transit, 2500 for like $45,000, right? We could take debt out for that. We could have a brand new vehicle that's a lot bigger, be more footprint. It'd have a lot more room. We could actually get inside of it. We could do work inside of it rather than working from outside of this Ford Transit Connect. So there's a lot of pros and cons, and you got
Yeah.
to weigh that, right? Like, is that $45,000 vehicle going to make me more money than the $12,000 vehicle? That's
Yeah.
really what it comes down to. Or could I buy the 12,000 vehicle,
Yeah.
$12,000 vehicle, and make my money for 2 years, and then save that money up, and then buy the $45,000 Ford Transit after it's maybe a few years old. Like, you have to weigh that. And if you
Yeah.
want to jump full bore and buy that brand new truck, there's nothing wrong with it. You just have to make sure that you're going to be profitable and you're going to be able to make those payments. That's really
Yeah.
what.
So I guess me being 18, I might learn some hard lessons about debt, but let me run you through exactly why I've decided to take it's going to be about $12,000 of debt for a vehicle.
Okay,
So
that'd be
yeah.
great.
Yeah, because somebody starting out might have this exact same question, like, should I take out a loan for a vehicle? So I have been evaluating my options. I kind of knew that the van I was in, which cost me $2,000, was probably not going to last forever. Um, but on the flip side, every single month I've been in business, I've grossed like over $3,000 net profit or gross profit. So I've reinvested that money back into the business, but it's after my overhead expenses. Um, anyway, all that said is that this van officially died today. I have $1,500 of work on my schedule, and I know I can keep selling jobs and keep doing work because I found a niche, I've built a skill set, and I have tools. I know I can keep sourcing work as long as I can drive. And so I've decided it makes sense to take on strategic debt. I'm not going crazy with it. It's a $14,000 van. I am going through a dealership, um, but I also looked at the market rate for a comparable vehicle. It's a 2020 Chevy Express with 100,000 miles or 110,000 miles for 14 grand. So I felt like it was a pretty good option. Um, but I am going to be taking on a payment. And the way I thought about it is like, would I pay $500 a month to know that I have transportation? And at this point, I would because I have so many jobs on the schedule and I'm thrown so off if my vehicle breaks down. And it has been like having issues over the past few weeks. So the way I view it is like I'm going to pay $500 to have reliable transportation, and that's just my fee I have to pay every month. But with that reliable transportation, I know I can generate more revenue because of my current setup, my niche, and my like already existing customer base. And so that was my strategic thought process. Maybe in a few years, I'll look back and be like, I shouldn't have taken on that debt, or maybe I'll look back and be like, that was a smart move. I don't know.
I think that you're thinking about enough where you're gonna be good, man. The main thing that people get wrong with debt is you want to definitely understand credit. You need to understand credit. You need to understand too that financing loans is a
Yeah.
marketplace. You can get better deals depending on who you go through. So, depending on your interest rate, you could shop around to see if a
This interest
bank.
is going to be atrocious. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be at like 25%
Yeah,
because I'm 18 and a new lender. They do not look, they're not like
yeah.
this is,
So,
but
not to give this is just being a banker for 10 years. See if local credit union or local banks.
yeah, I try.
You tried? Okay,
So
that's
I tried. What they told me is, well, one, you're 18, your credit,
mm,
I have a 750 credit score, which is good. But it's shallow.
you
It's
have no
because my
credit
dad has
history.
put me on
Yeah,
his, yeah, no credit history. And then they said I need 2 years of tax returns for my business. And I'm like, well, I need to drive next week. I don't know if I have 2 years
yeah.
to wait. So, and the credit union I talked to, I only stopped at one credit union. I also talked to like my Chase banker. Um, but they said you just we're not going to be able to give you a loan unless you have a longer credit history, and 2 years of tax returns, or if you get a cosigner. But that's it can be a lot to ask for somebody to cosign with you.
Yeah. So, always, if they can't finance through the business, which that makes sense, business, you got to be more established to finance it through a
That's what
company.
they were saying.
See if you can finance it personally. But my guidance for you, not to go down the rabbit hole here, is
Sure.
look up how to build credit. Most
Yep.
notably, get a CD or a savings secured credit card,
Okay.
or if someone will give you a credit card. Um, just make sure you pay it off every month. Just make your payments every single month. Use it like cash. Don't actually use the credit on it. That will build up your
Yeah.
credit score, especially if you've got this loan going. But I would, depending on the loan terms, usually 3 to 5 years,
Mhm.
be checking like after 3, 6 months, see if a local bank or a credit union
That's
might be able to
yeah.
refinance it.
Refinance at a lower percentage. That's kind of
Yep.
the strategy, and I'm going to build credit in that time and
Mhm.
see. Um, But to be honest, part of why I've been okay with accepting a really high interest rate is because I'm planning on paying it off. Like my goal is to do it in 12 months.
Mm.
I don't know how realistic that is. I've done I've done 27,000 gross revenue in the last 5 months. And I feel like those first 5 months were just like my admittance dues of like learning all the really low level lessons. I feel like now I can really start to become more profitable and dial everything in. So I'm hoping that in the next year I can have it completely paid off, and then it won't be that atrocious for the interest. It would be much more significant over the next like if I held a 5 year term with 25% interest, that's going to be you're going to be paying so much.
Yeah. And that's a good route to go, and grossing that during the last 5 months through the slow season is awesome. And the last point, the big thing about financing here is like people get into trouble when they're or when they're financing new vehicles all the time. Vehicles are a depreciating asset, which means
Yeah.
it's a bad investment. At a flat level, looking at it as an investment, its value goes down right when you buy it, right when you drive it off the lot. Everyone knows that. And Where the value is, though, is if you hold on to it and get value from it for a long
Yeah.
time, then it's technically a great asset to own because you pay it off, and then if you can run it for another 5, 10 years or whatever, it's a good investment. Where people go wrong is they buy a new work truck, they refinance it, and then 2 or 3 years later they want the newer truck.
Yeah.
That is a very it's an unwise financial maneuvering, in my opinion. So as long as you're going to be using a vehicle for the long term,
Hmm.
that's where the value is. Don't be looking at a new vehicle in 2, 3 years unless it has utility, added storage, trailer, whatever that
Hmm.
looks like.
And I love that we're having this conversation because there's probably somebody listening right now that's considering buying a brand new vehicle as a new business. And it sounds like what you guys are saying is like, don't do that. Don't buy a brand new vehicle when you're first starting out.
Yeah, buy used. I mean, and again, I
Oh,
think new
yeah.
vehicles are fine if you buy them with the intent to run it into the ground. And again, this is a balance of personal preference, but it is
Yeah.
backed by financial prudence in that vehicles are depreciating assets. You're going to get the most utility, most value when you use it for as long as long as it gets you from point A to point B, has the air conditioning and heat working, the utility that you need for work. Can you haul the stuff you need to haul, carry all your tools?
Mm.
If it checks all those boxes and you just want something nicer to look cool or whatever, it's probably stick with what you got. So usually used is a better financial, lower cost. However,
Mhm.
if you buy new, as long as you're planning on using it till the end of life, it's a good investment. So anyway, not to get too hung up on debt. I mean,
Yeah, of course.
I know we've been going for a while here. It's amazing conversations. I'd like to open it up again to Ben, like some other like questions, topics that you like, some bigger things that you've been facing here as a new business owner.
I got one more
Yeah.
question
Oh yeah, sorry, Alan,
for the debt.
you're here
I
with
got
us.
Yeah, I got one more. I'm looking Facebook Marketplace for 2020 Chevy Expresses. I'm looking this up. Um, I think it can be good. I think you need to pay this off in a year, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
I think that it shouldn't last longer than a year, because it's just but it's gonna take a lot of money, right? Um,
Yeah.
so if you're making $3,000 gross profit every month, your loan is 12 grand. If you could put $1,000 to this thing a month, it's going to
Yep.
take a little bit longer than a year to pay it off because you're going to have interest. So you might want to put
Yeah.
1,200 bucks a month, but that's quite a bit of money. Um, but I would probably recommend raising your rates to 75 bucks an hour.
Right
So
now.
you can offset that. I would personally, I would start making
Yeah.
that incline up there.
So
Maybe not instantly going to 75, but maybe going to
yeah.
55 today and then
So
60.
yeah, when we first called, I was talking about my rates, and you were like, you have to raise your rates. I was at 40 at the time. I've upped that to 50 now
Yeah.
for people, is what I tell them. Um, my, my plan has been to keep it at 50 until I feel like I have a lot of work, and then
Mhm.
jump it up another notch. Do you think that makes sense to
Well, I
do?
just, I know that we just had this conversation about debt and heard from a banker himself, right? But that, like you're bringing in what you're bringing in per month and you're spending 500 bucks a month on a vehicle. Like, I just don't know if that's wise. That's a lot of money per month, going out the door like right away, and I think that you have
Yeah.
to offset that with income,
Okay. Yeah.
but what do you think about that, Jason?
I mean, you need to drive from point A to point B. And that's where having credit and being able to buy a vehicle in a tight pinch, like Ben, your vehicle broke down on the side of the road like this morning. So you
Yeah.
need reliable transportation.
I
So
cannot get anywhere right
Yeah.
now. I'm completely stranded. I'm talking to my roommate. She's gonna drive me to the dealership, and we're gonna like hustle it to happen. But like right now, the $1,500 of work on my schedule can't happen if I don't get a vehicle quick.
yeah, so there is a necessity, and I think
Right.
paying it down at 25% interest rate is, and that's where it sucks when you don't have credit or you're 18.
Yeah,
It's just hard.
it's gonna be
Um,
hard. Yeah.
but just take courage that every payment you pay towards that is technically a 25% like investment.
That's
That
smart. That's
that
a good way
doesn't
to think of
hash out like any financial expert, investment expert right now is like, oh well, that's not technically true because there's no compounding interest after it's paid off. Anyway, I'm not trying to go in the weeds here,
it. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
definitely be paying that off as soon as you can,
Okay.
within reason. You got to take care of your personal situation. So Yeah, there's no there. I don't think for any one person, like when it comes to especially a situation like that, there's no right or wrong answer that's going to work for everybody.
Right?
If you had like 50 grand in the bank and could shell out 12 grand for the van, like yeah, obviously that'd probably be the better option. But
Sure.
um, there is circumstance, and that's why I want to just definitely outline for our visitors, like, or for our listeners, is while we take a more cautious approach for debt, there's absolutely necessary debt. And there's also really smart debt that you can make a lot of money from. But the first layer is understanding how debt works, how that impacts your cash flow, your overhead, the interest rate you're getting. Is it a good enough interest rate where it's a huge
Yeah.
investment win where you can just pay it till the loan expires? Does it make sense to pay it off early? There's so many factors when it comes to debt and financing, but at the end of the day, you need to go to point A to point B. You need to operate your business. You're going to
Yeah.
update that Google category, and your phone's going to
Oh,
start
no,
ringing more on
I know I'm
Google.
gonna have infinite leads.
So yeah.
So what is the I just I'm interested in this because I think this is a real life question that I think people are going to deal with. So what's wrong with your current vehicle? How much is your current vehicle worth? And how much money do you have in the bank account right now?
So in my bank account, I mean, okay, this is gonna get messy because like I'm operating on the edge right now. Which I'm lucky I made it to this call because I thought about canceling it to focus on other stuff. But this is a great story because this is real. If I was uh less stubborn, the smart way would be to go get a job, work really hard, save up money, and then buy a new van cash. I think that's the smart way, like the safest and most reliable way to do it. I don't really feel like getting a job and working for several months. I want to grow this handyman thing. I already know I have the skill set, I have tools, so I'm trying to leverage that as much as possible. The issue with my van right now is the head gasket's going out.
Oh,
Um,
okay. That's a pretty big issue. Okay.
yes,
It's not just a
I mean,
fuel filter, it's a pretty
no,
big
no, no,
issue.
no, no, no. I mean, I so I took it to a shop, and this is a learning lesson. I kind of had I don't know, I really thought it was a head gasket because I'm a car guy. I work on vehicles a fair amount.
Mhm.
Just the symptoms I was having. The shop told me, no, no, you just have a crack in your radiator. So I paid them $700,
Oh man.
which put me down $700 for this new vehicle that I now need, and it didn't fix my issue.
Uh,
So I did that like 2 weeks ago. A week goes by, my vehicle's overheating again because of the head gasket causing coolant issues. And I take it back to the shop and I'm like, guys, this is not working. They look at it, they say it's fine, just bring it back if you keep having issues. And I'm like, stop trying. I'm not talking to them anymore because it's not, I don't know, they're not really helping the issue. Now it's like, I mean, there's an when your head gasket starts going out, it causes a lot of other issues. You might be burning oil. So my oil was like at zero yesterday, and then I hitchhiked like half a mile to get oil to fill it. Um, all that to say is like my van's value right now is pretty much scrap. I don't even know if I can drive it to a scrap yard because it's like when your head gasket goes out and there's overheating and all these other issues, you can start hearing like engine scraping, and that's when
Yeah.
you know you're like just about to die. My When I was driving back from Lowe's because I was trying to pick up supplies for a job tomorrow. When I was driving back from Lowe's, it was like 3 miles, and I was like, "Please make it back to my place because I need this not on the side of the road." Um, and I could see the oil pressure just like slowly dropping as I go mile after mile. It was like the most intense drive. But now it's in my parking lot. Been talking with the dealership. I got my roommate. She's gonna drive me to the dealership later, and then I'll get this 2020 Chevy Express with 110,000 miles. I got a mechanic to do a pre-inspection on it. He said everything looks good. Um, so hopefully by the end of today, I'll walk out with a fat car payment, which is, you know, nobody loves a 25% interest rate, but I'll have transportation. And just based off my past revenue, I can cover my expenses. And my business is ramping a lot more now, up a lot more with it being the busy season and then this next door marketing. Like, I think I've gotten 3 leads today so far, and it's only like 1:30 p.m. Um, so that's kind of the situation there.
Yeah, I think it's good to have the full story because I definitely feel different than I did before.
Yeah, it's
You definitely need a new vehicle.
Yeah,
But I think it all comes back down to pricing and making sure that you're profitable. Like I know
agree.
when we talked, you're charging $40 an hour. I'm like, you gotta charge more.
Yeah,
I think it comes down to knowing what your hourly rate needs to be and that you're actually making profit per hour. So I
yeah.
I would rerun your numbers with that additional $500 payment each month and make sure that $50 an hour is cutting it. Um, to me, it sounds like it's probably not going to. You might need to raise it maybe to 60, 65.
So
75 would be
yeah,
reasonable. I
yeah.
don't see why you couldn't charge 75, but I would
So,
encourage you to rerun your numbers, but I
I guess
think you need a new vehicle.
yeah. Let me put that on my notes. And this has just been just stubborn. So like the smart way would be to get a job somewhere that's going to pay a consistent paycheck and you can build up cash and then jump into the business because I'm like kind of an all-in mentality. It's a lot more risky and it's gotten kind of messy, but I think it's going to work out uh especially once I have this fan because I know I can make money. I know I can fix people's stuff.
Yeah,
I know
I
I
don't
can
think
sell my
I don't
services.
think you're being stubborn. You're being an entrepreneur.
I mean, yeah,
Entrepreneurs are willing to take risks,
yeah.
for things that they believe in. And I think that's
And
exactly what you're doing.
it's real struggle too. And I think this is something if you're in the weeds right now as a handyman, you're like, because there's going to be people listening to this that are like, I need to make this work. Like I have rent coming up. You can figure it out, even if it feels impossible. Because I'm not gonna lie, last night, I mean, I was at the gym just thinking about like, how am I gonna make this work? Because like my vehicle was not like have all these jobs lined up. I don't have enough money in my bank account to get this new vehicle.
Hmm.
Um, so I was 1,000 short from what I needed. And I actually kind of pulled a Hail Mary and called some of my past customers that I've had a really good relationship with. And I was like, I remember one time you said that if I ever needed anything, I could call you. Would you be willing to lend me a grand? So one of my customers sold me a grand this morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is again where customers first, like when you put people first and you watch out for people with your services and help them clog their backed up sewer at night, when you put them first, when you really need it, they'll put you first.
Yeah, I love your thanks for sharing that, Ben. I want to give you some encouragement that you've got all the makings of I believe that you're gonna come out of this like just awesome. Like I think in 3 months from now, you'll be looking back and be like, wow, I can't believe I went through that. That was crazy. What a time. Because we are entering the busy season. Naturally, things pick up. You're doing all the right things to kind of level up the business, level up yourself. Um, I commend your courage to reaching out for help and to take someone up on an offer. They made you an offer to help. You
Yeah,
mentioned not having friends and family in the area. That is very courageous. It's very bold. It's very real. And I think that's what the most successful people in the world, they're okay with asking for help when they need help. So I just commend you for your courage and doing what it takes to stay afloat right now. Right now,
appreciate
you're
it.
just trying to stay afloat, but I do believe in 3 months with your attitude and always learning
Yeah,
that you're going to be in a base floor of some cash and not kind of, having to call up clients
yeah, I know.
for stuff like that. But I appreciate you sharing a raw perspective of this is sometimes what people go through when they start a business.
Yeah,
I had some, I'm not here to share my story, but I have been in those spots where you are today, where I didn't know how I was going to make it work. Thought it was all over. And I just kept pushing through with, a lot of thick head and a lot of hard work. And so you've got the makings to make it happen. It's just a valley that you're going through. Reliable transportation, you get that in place. Keep up the good work with marketing and on that
yeah,
grind. Treat your customers first, but you're on the right path, man. It's just a valley, a deep one that you're going through, part of starting a business. So I appreciate you sharing that for our listeners. This is what a lot of people will go through, and they're just not willing to share about it because it's not sexy.
yeah. No, it's not. It's
It's
like,
not
dang, I'm
glamorous.
struggling. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna make. I mean, yeah, it's struggle, but it's real, and I appreciate you guys, helping with coaching and everything. And I think, again, not to like constantly be selling your guys' mastermind group, but like, I think you should join that mastermind. And when you have these sort of problems, throw it in the group because you can get people like Jason and Alan and me sharing our experiences. Like, let's say you have some other problem, like you really messed up a big job. That can be something you can put in the group, and people can help you mastermind how to figure that out and how to like be strategic and like figure your way through the challenge.
Yeah. Well, you guys have another like 10 minutes, Ben? I mean, you're about to go get a van, man. You got some things to do, so I want to be respectful of your time.
I got like 10 more minutes for sure.
Okay, cool. What Alan, what do you think, or Ben, like, how can we maximize the last 10 minutes here of like these new business problems questions? What is the most important that we have left to cover?
Yeah, I'd love Ben. Pick your top question.
Okay, let me look through my
All
questions.
right.
Um, so I guess a lot of my questions now are like a bit down the road as far as like hiring employees. Um, at least the ones I have on my notes.
Let's start with some ground floor stuff, rather than employees, because you shouldn't be worrying about that right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would tend to agree. I've got bigger problems,
Yeah,
more
you
immediate
gotta make
problems.
some money.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
Um,
man, you got to be posting those hiring ads like right now. Forget the van.
no, I gotta get a no, no. After I get this vehicle, I'm building up cash in the bank. This will never happen again because I can't. I mean,
Good.
it's not fun. Um, well, I th this is a good question because this is applicable to anybody, especially people starting out. If you guys had to pick one marketing strategy for startups, what would it be? One strategy. You're starting completely fresh tomorrow. What do you do to get customers? You have no reputation. You have no jobs booked. What do you do?
I'll go first. I got two things that I would do. I would get my free Google business profile set up. I'd hit up my friends, family, anyone that can testify to my work and my character, and I would get them to leave me a review.
Okay.
I then would get some business cards and start hitting the streets. I would make
Everyone.
that requires a vehicle unless you're in a city and you can walk around. But I would join the Chamber of Commerce. I'd go to every single networking event. I'd go meet the Chamber of Commerce receptionist, put my business cards there, introduce myself, ask, if there's anyone that might be able to use my kind of services that they know about. And I would do that same exercise in commercial locations. I would hit up, trying to see if there's any HOAs, assisted living communities, 55 plus neighborhoods. I would go around with a bright smiley face, business cards, and see if anyone has a need for my services.
Yep. I
Love
think
it.
the thought that comes to my mind is the Napoleon Dynamite, where they're going around and they're selling Tupperwares, and so they're going door to door and they're selling these Tupperwares. And in one moment, I forget who it was, the brother, whatever his name was, he puts the Tupperware behind the wheel of the van to show that you can run over this Tupperware and it's going to be okay.
Mm.
Puts it in reverse and he runs over the Tupperware and the Tupperware just explodes. So he's like, dang it, and then he just drives away. So you got to go, I'd hit the streets,
Yeah.
but I would do other things in conjunction with that. I'd create the Google business profile. I would post on Facebook, but I would also be just door to door because my thought is
Yeah.
like, you go door to door and you're saying, hey, I'm a brand new handyman. I'm an 18-year-old trying to make it in this world, right? And I'm here. I want to let you know that I've started up doing handyman projects. Do you have anything that I could do for you today? And people might bring you in. They might have, oh yeah, my toilet's been running for the last month. If you could fix it
Yeah.
real quick, that'd be great. And then just get in, do some quick stuff for them. Maybe they have gutter cleaning that needs to be done, whatever it is. And you're just going door to door. You might not get to talk to anyone. You might only get to talk to five people because other people are at work. But I think
Yeah.
building that reputation and then following up with those people as you go is the way to do it. But I think in conjunction, you got to do those. You got to be online and offline at the same time.
Hmm.
You got to be building your Google business
Yeah.
profile, your Facebook, everything like that, etc. But you also got to be shaking hands and kissing babies. That's what you got to be doing. So that's kind of what I would do day one.
And the bigger point that I would want to just cover all this marketing stuff up with, and even just your business experience that you're providing, is reputation. Now that word's been brought up quite a few
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Um, Reputation takes work, but that's what businesses are built around. That's what like reputation is the most important thing. Getting a website, getting all these more technical stuff, that's work and expertise. Reputation, like no one can build your reputation for you. And the highest impact reputation comes from relationship, actually having relationships
Yeah.
with people. Maybe they're your client, maybe they're not. But that's where both Alan and I, we first went to in person, networking, shaking hands door to door. You are seeking to build a reputation, whether someone hires you or not, right there on the spot. At the end of the day, your online marketing or offline marketing is going to be more successful, more effective if you wrap it up in a solid reputation.
Dang.
And that takes
That's like,
time.
you guys just dropped like, if you just heard that, you can start a handyman business today. As soon as this podcast is over, go knock some doors. Be like, hey, I'm a handyman just getting started. Is there anything I can do for you? You
Do
can do
it.
it. And
And
like, yeah, build your reputation, value your customer, and there's no way for you to lose
man,
Yeah, and it's
unless
just
your
one
vehicle
step at a
breaks down
time.
and you can't drive anywhere.
Yeah, one step at a time. Baby steps will ultimately take you miles. So these are all just the baby steps that you go through, and then years down the road, you'll have the nice, fancy online presence, the wrap truck, and be charging $175 an hour or whatever. Honestly, charges that none of us here would ever pay. Um, you know, but Alan went through those baby steps, and so that's just my
That's right.
encouragement. Has been like right now, you're in some muddy baby steps, but that's okay, man. You're on the right path to be getting out of it. What? Let's do one last question. What's
Bet.
one last one that comes to mind that would be the most valuable here?
Oh man. Well, honestly,
honestly, handyman.
Yeah, he's right
I
here.
love
Honestly,
that name. That's got to be the best name. Um,
honestly, it is the best name. Honestly,
so this is maybe a little bit different topic, but I have this in my notes, and this is really important. So let's say you start out, you're brand new, you don't really know what you're doing. You're marketing yourself, now you're getting some customers. How do you solve problems you haven't done before? That's in my notes. And what's that process look like?
YouTube, baby.
YouTube.
Yeah, I think one huge thing for me is when I first started out, I connected myself with a contractor that went to the same church as me. And he told me, he said, okay, like I told him, I'm thinking about doing this thing. Can you give me some guidance? And he helped me out. He let me come out on a few jobs with him, which was pretty cool. But he also gave me another resource of the Home Depot 123 book. It's a book that you can buy online, but Home Depot produced it, and it's got like how to patch drywall, how to replace an outlet. It's got everything. Home Depot 123 book, and it's really valuable resource. It's like an extra instruction manual for virtually everything. So just learn, 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 learn. That's all you can do. But a lot of the stuff you also got to realize you're going to have to learn on the job. You can't learn
Yeah,
everything from a textbook. You got to get the street.
100%.
So some of it you just got to kind of do it and be honest with the clients.
Mhm.
Hey, I've done a heck of a lot of research on this topic, but I've never actually done it. So
Yeah,
is it okay with you if I do this? I'm pretty confident I can do it, but I just want to let you know I've never done it.
yeah.
Like be upfront with the client.
So, something that's a new development that learned from your Handyman Academy, and I've started implementing myself, ChatGPT for
Yeah,
troubleshooting problems.
for
Because
sure.
I still see all things all the time that I don't know how to do. I just type it into ChatGPT, and it's not always perfect.
Mhm.
It's for sure not perfect, but it can point you in the right direction. And
Yeah,
some of the people we talked to the other night said that like they said they use that to
yeah.
troubleshoot problems.
Now, one of our Handyman Academy members, he just said the other day that he had to adjust something on a door, and he couldn't figure it out. There was an instruction manual, but it was written all weird and didn't make much sense. So he took a picture of it. He uploaded it to the Grok, which is the AI in Twitter,
Hmm.
and said, "How do I adjust this on this particular door?" And they gave him exact instructions, and he's like, "I was
Yeah.
able to do it." Like it's crazy. And AI is the future, really. And if you're not utilizing it, you need to utilize it in some way. And that's just one example to use it for sure.
Yeah, just force
100%.
yourself into it. But yeah, actually learning on the job. And I know there's lots, haters is just part of being in business and certainly when you're
Yeah.
online. But a lot of the negativity that I see is like, oh, people that they've got no right to like, Ben, you've got no right to be charging money and $20 an hour, you're ruining the market, blah, 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 blah. But the difference between like a true kind of standard truck in a truck that brings that negative connotation to the handyman business and someone like Ben and someone like Alan when he was first starting is that they're willing to learn. They're honest with clients about
Mhm.
what they can, what they can't do. They priced honestly. You're going to be your lowest price when you're starting out because you are paying to learn. But as long as
Yeah.
you're upfront, honest about that, denying things that you know is dangerous and will harm your client potentially, I just think it's an amazing thing. It does take courage, and a lot of learning happens from being on the job. Just can't beat that kind of experience.
Mhm.
100%.
And one last point on this one. I think I brought this up on the podcast, but one of my favorite stories about Alan's handyman journey was when he was first starting out. I remember, Alan, you telling me like one of your strategies when you had no idea, like you'd show up to a house and you'd be on the project, be like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to do next. And so you'd go into the restroom and pull up YouTube. And you had this one story, it
Oh,
was like, I forget what project it was, but you had a lot of YouTube to watch.
yep,
And so
yep.
you were in like the bathroom for like 15, 20 minutes with the customer in the house. And I just thought
Oh,
that
that's
that
crazy.
story is, it's not glamorous, but it's honest and it's raw and it's bold that Alan did what it took to learn. And I'm sure he wouldn't have wanted to do that going in, but he did what it took to learn. And then I'm sure next time he did that, he either knew how to do it or he learned that it's not something he wanted to get involved with. So he denied the job.
Yeah, I'll share with you guys a quick
100%.
story. My very first day, January 1st, 2017, so my very first full-time day, I had gone and I looked at this client. She was right around the corner from my house. She had six 4-inch can lights in her kitchen, and they had all gone out over the years, and she currently had only one that was working. So she's like, my kitchen's so dark, I need it fixed. And so when I quoted, I said, oh yeah, we can convert those to LED, no problem. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'll just take the can out, I'll cut the wires, and I'll hook them up to the new 4-inch LED, pop it in there, we'll be good to go. Well, I get out there January 1st, 2017, and I pull it out, and I'm like, what the heck is this? And it was a little fluorescent bulb. And I'm like, what? Like, it was a weird connection I've never seen, but now I've seen it all the time. I test it, there's 12 volts coming out of it. I'm like, what the heck is this? And so I try and pull the whole can out, and as I'm trying to pull the whole can out of the ceiling, the Romex that they used to hook this wasn't long enough for the whole can to come out. So I couldn't even figure out what was going on. So I had to crawl up in the attic, and when I was up in the attic, I found out that there was a ballast. We all know now it's a ballast. But I'm like, what the heck is this? So I'm literally in the attic. There's like I'm here, the roof is here. I'm like scrunched in there, and I'm watching a YouTube video about a ballast to learn what a
Yeah.
ballast is, and then it breaks it down to 12 volts. And I'm like, so what I learned I needed to do was neuter the ballast and bring 120 volts to that fixture so I could hook up my LED. Took me all day to do all six of these, but I got it done, and I learned a valuable lesson that there's stuff out there that I don't know. And that was my very first day. I got paid 500 bucks for that job. It took me all day, but I'll never forget that. Up in the attic, watching YouTube. I don't know if they could hear me from the ceiling. Hopefully not. But I learned about a ballast that day. So believe it or not, when I started my handyman business, I didn't know what a ballast was. So mind blown.
Love it.
Yeah.
And now you charge 175 an hour.
There you
Uh,
go. There you
that's
go.
one of the baby steps. Well, Ben, thank you so much for your time, man, in the middle of your unexpectedly crazy day. Really means a lot to us. And I want to timestamp this for or for our listeners is that today is March 28th of 2025. I don't remember when this one's going to air, but Ben, we are going to be in touch with you so we can get a follow up probably
Awesome.
middle later the year. I think that you're going to
That'd be
be
sweet.
on rapid pace the next 3 to 6 months to transform your business and your personal situation, in your van. So anyway, man, we'll definitely get you back on for kind of an update and also to cover keep those questions noted because we probably didn't get
Yeah.
to even 75%
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time, man. It was really great conversation.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it, guys. I appreciate your time and advice.
Yeah, and if you're watching this video and you want a part two, if you want us to finish the questions that Ben has created, drop that in the comment section below. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Oh, and last little impromptu, podcasts have ratings. If you can figure out how to leave us a rating if you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, then don't worry about the rating part. But if you could drop us like a 5-star and a review on the wherever you listen to the podcast, that would be super sweet and well appreciated. Thank you guys again for your time. We'll see you on the next episode.
All right, friends, that's a wrap of this episode of the Handyman Success Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on your journey in building a thriving handyman business. We would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. Whether you learned something new or you're facing challenges that you're just not quite sure how to deal with, we would absolutely love to hear from you. We would love it if you would leave us a review, drop us a comment, or hit that like button telling us that you liked this episode. By doing this, you truly help and support us in creating more of these podcast episodes to help change the handyman industry to something amazing. And I want you to remember that you are not alone on this journey. Jason and I are here to help. If you need anything at all in regards to business or marketing, you can reach out to either Jason or I at handymansuccess.net. You can go over there right now and set up a free consultation call with either of us. We would absolutely love to talk with you. So thanks again for spending this time with us. And until next time, go out and be a blessing.